We've found a place where there's room to grow, haven't we? I hope you feel that way about Unity of Gaithersburg. Well, and I stole this joke from my friend Russ, who is also a jokester, prankster. I love him for that. So Eve was in the Garden of Eden working. She was doing all the tasks of taking care of the animals, keeping the garden all nice and tidy, tending to all that had been created, and she was exhausted. So she finally said, "Hey, God, I need some help here. What can you do to help me out?" And God said, "Okay, Eve, I tell you what. I'll make another creation to help you out, and we'll call it man. But the only stipulation is you have to pretend that he was created first." It's not over yet. And Eve responded, "Well, okay, I guess I can do that. We just need help." No, she said, "Well, okay, I guess I can do that. I just need help, so whatever it takes." And God said, "Just don't tell anyone, though. We'll just keep it between us girls." What was that, Jeff? Okay. See, the women all think it's a scream, and the men are like, "Oh." And it's not a joke. Well, we'll talk about that. All right, so last week we had Ask the Ministers, which I got some great feedback about. It was, and I loved, first of all, we had it because you gave us your questions. And we loved the questions that you submitted. And there were a couple that were submitted that seemed like they applied to Unity of Gaithersburg, and I thought, I'll take those on. So I'm going to attempt to answer, oh gosh, we're already running a little bit late today. I'll attempt to answer at least a couple of them. One is, why is God being left out of our service? The ambiguity of using love, universe light, etc. is confusing. And why isn't there an emphasis on Jesus in Unity services? So you ready? Okay. The other one that I would love to get to is, can you please explain the tithe and offering? But we'll get there. Okay, so I want to delve into this first question. Why is God being left out of our service, and the ambiguity of using love, universe light, etc. is confusing? Okay, so first of all, I want to say in an honoring way, we still have God in our service if you stay to the end and sing the peace song and the prayer for protection, right? Okay, so God's not completely left the building. Okay. So I think the question is, Rev Sheryl, why don't you use God? Okay, I'll tell you. For what I know today in this moment, it could change next week. So I want to dive into the word ambiguity. So ambiguity is the quality of being open to more than one interpretation in exactness. So this is, and I want you to know I am right here with you, and I love this question, and I love being able to work with it because it's worked me, and I appreciate that. Because it's always good for a minister to reflect on where she is on the spiritual journey, and I want you to know I do that on a daily basis. The human condition, I think we want exactness. I think we don't want multiple definitions and words and ideas about what we call God. I think we want to be comfortable, and we want there to be a unified understanding of what God is so that we can use it and allow it and follow it and work with it. And from my Baptist tradition, it followed this: God said it, I believe it, that settles it. This week, I celebrated my 10th anniversary of my graduation and ordination on June 4th. And the one thing I can say on that journey, and really the whole time on my spiritual journey, is that I have discovered more and more and more that there is no definition of the word God that is concrete and true. And if I stand here and use the word God, this is the thing. Okay, so I want to do an experiment with you. Just close your eyes for a moment and just God. God. What is God to you? And so, okay, you can open your eyes. And as many people that are in this room is what we could talk about what God is. There's that many multiple definitions of what God is. But typically, I will say, and I will assert, that often our view of God comes from our embedded theology. We all have an embedded theology, whether we were in church or not growing up, because we live in a Western culture. We have an embedded theology. And we can't help it because it's cellular. And that's the filter we'll use when we come to classes, and it's just our embedded theology is a filter we use to hear and listen and experience life on the spiritual journey. And typically what we do in our humanness is we will try to fit what we hear about God into our already existing paradigm or embedded theology, because it's just our human way to try and understand something, especially when it's something as vast as what we consider God to be. But the thing is, the minute we try to define God, we limit, right? So our language is inherently limiting. And I'm just going to say this because, I can be honest with you. I think sometimes, as the one up here, I think that people look to me to tell them what's true. Uh-oh. Spiritual leaders, I believe, are not here to tell you your truth. They are here to evoke your truth. And if any leader says, this is the only truth, run. Run quickly from the building. I feel that spiritual leaders are also called to be in integrity with their own truth as they see it right then. And that could change from week to week. And speak from that to the best of their ability. So I want you to know that what you hear from me on a week-to-week basis is where I am, is in integrity with who I am. And so I do my best to bring that truth to you every week, whatever that is. So to me, the purpose of our life journey is to explore our inner landscape, constantly living into curiosity and discover where we don't know the answers. See, the thing is, I don't know what God is. I can tell you what Charles Fillmore said God is. If you were in Meta 1 this week, Metaphysics 1, you learned that God is principle. God is divine mind. But please don't stop there. Because, see, the joyful confusion that comes with not knowing what God is, see, that's what we don't like. We want to believe something, but the thing is, guys, unity is a bridge. And most of us are transplants from another tradition. And so when we get into unity, we go, oh, thank God. Thank God I finally got a theology that is not, this, and this. That I'm a lowly sinner or whatever, wherever you came from. the thing about it is, folks, when we get confident what we believe, that's when we get in trouble. Because I think even in unity, because we're so excited, we come in and it's like, oh, finally, it's an inclusive theology. We can get stuck in that. That can become embedded. We even have a term for it in unity. It's called metaphysical malpractice. Really. It's because we as human beings want to be right. Bless our hearts. So, why did you get sick? What thoughts were you holding in mind? Were you not trusting God to heal you? That's mean. That is metaphysical malpractice. And so I think we want to know and we want to be told and we want to hear, about God, because I think we just want to know how to work with it. We want our lives to work, and I so understand that. But the thing is, I think we want a prescription for life. It's like, say a denial and 3 affirmations and call me in the morning. We just want to be comfortable. And I know that me not mentioning the word God in service has stirred some discomfort. And I say this with the most love. Yay. I do not mean to in any way, be disrespectful to our journey. But I want you to know that what's passionate on my heart is the role of a minister. We comfort the afflicted and we afflict the comfortable. With my heart, and I mean this, and I love you so much, but I am not committed to you coming here and being comfortable every Sunday. I love you. I would love nothing more than if when you leave here on Sunday, you ask yourself, why did she not talk about God? Why was she talking about love and wholeness? And what? Question. Get curious. Folks, that's what keeps us alive. That's what keeps the journey alive. If we get comfortable, we are dead. A guru said, I think it was Sadhguru, if we identify with our ignorance, we will always be a borderless, boundless human being. However, if we identify with our knowledge, we will be constipated. See, the thing is, and this, I was so touched by being, I took the self-awareness class because I get to have continuing education credits. I was so moved by the people in our class. Because, SEE classes, this is one of the things I love about Unity is that this ongoing education. We don't take a class to be affirmed in what we already know. Where's the growth in that? I walked into this class, and Robert, he won't care that I shared this. He said, I was so moved, I walked in the class 5 minutes beforehand. Everybody was sitting there ready to go. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful to hear people share so authentically and so vulnerably from a place of I don't know. The ultimate growth, folks, is when we can come from I don't know. When we start to say I know from a place of I know, check in, because the more I grow on the spiritual journey, the more I find I do not know squat. And the thing is, on the spiritual journey, we get to embrace ambiguity. That's one thing that Unity teaches. Unity teaches the paradox on the spiritual journey. The nature of the spiritual journey is paradox. So we've got God as principle, meaning God immutable, unchanging. Then we have God as personal. How can that be? How can it be both? So here's this energy, this intelligence, whatever you want to call God, wherever you are right now in your journey, which is perfect. That it's immutable, unchanging, vast, but it's also a personal experience, hopefully. God is immanent and transcendent, unchanging over time, and fully what we are, yet more than we can ever imagine. You know, we're not a piece of it. Yeah, we are its totality. We are a soul that is evolving and ever changing, and at the same time, we are the fullness of unchangeability. Paradox. Paradox, folks. And I have to say that where I am right now, which again might change next week, is I would love, the reason that I use different words for God is so that we can move out of an objectification or just a concept or an idea and more of an experience. Because to me, if you go to an SAE class and you learn God as principle and you keep it in the intellect, that's one way. But I always invite people, go deeper. You know, if you've been in one of my classes, that's my mantra, go deeper. What does that mean to you in your life? How can you translate that in your life? So I use words like wholeness and love because never so much do we yearn to experience wholeness than when we're ill. Never so much do we yearn to know divine wisdom when we're at a crossroads in our life and we want to know which job to take or which partner to marry or which house to buy, right? That yearning to know is life pulling us forward to evolve. Life is always moving forward into evolution. And we can dig our heels in and go, no, 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 no. I like my God as my source and I like unity, and that's great. But it's just that life is calling us forward with experiences that will teach us as we allow it, that will expand us. I love the prayer that we deepen and expand as we allow it. We talked in our self-awareness class about the river and how there's a river and you're standing on the bank of the river and you look at the river going by, and that's one way to experience the river. You know, you can sit by the river and you can hear it and you can watch it. But the only way to really experience the river is to get in the river and allow it to take you and allow it to, you flow with it. There's a quote from this wonderful book that we used in self-awareness. Only she who is ready to question, to think for herself, will find the truth. To understand the currents of the river, he who wishes to know the truth must enter the water. Yeah, we enter the water every time we allow ourselves to question. Every time we allow ourselves to get still and get self-aware. One of the distinctions that I loved from my self-awareness class this week was this idea of how polarized we are right now. Because we get so confident in what we know. Good, bad, right, wrong, Republican, Democrat. God is this. No, God is that. And we stay polarized. And the only way the two shall meet is if there's a higher intention. You know, Einstein said, there's no way that a conflict can be resolved from the energy that created it. So what we talked about in self-awareness is that there has to be a higher intention. You know, so when we feel ourselves getting dug in, we feel ourselves being resistant because wherever we're not hearing or what we want in church or life or whatever, it's like, what's the higher intention? What's our higher intention? What's your higher intention on your spiritual journey? And I invite us to look at that as a community. What's our higher intention as Unity of Gaithersburg? You know, we have that in our mission and vision and core values. You know, it's like, okay, because that, folks, is going to lead the way on our spiritual journey and in our life. When we can live from a higher intention. So I hope I've answered this question a little bit. But what I encourage you to do, please just let yourself question, let yourself seek, and not know. Embrace not knowing. Embrace ambiguity. Yeah. Come into your own understanding of what God is to you right now. Whatever. See, the beautiful thing about Unity of Gaithersburg, you can come in this door and you can be wherever you are. You can believe whatever. And as the minister, no, I'm not the sage on the stage. I'm here. I'm with you on the journey. And maybe the only thing that distinguishes us is I've just decided I want to do this as my life's work and constantly be on the journey and just share with you each week my insights, not as the truth, but to evoke your own. Because that's the journey, folks. The journey is for us to be self-aware, to deepen our understanding of the truth of what we are. And it's a beautiful one. So, and let's do it together. To me, there's nothing sweeter than coming together in community and just rolling up our sleeves and questioning and digging and during that process, getting some hugs, having some good food, and hearing some great music, and just being in community. Isn't it beautiful? Okay, so one more, and I want to acknowledge I'm running over. I apologize. If you need to leave, I won't take it personally. Why isn't there an emphasis on Jesus in Unity in Unity services? And so, bye, Al. And so I want to reference, and I had permission to share this story. It was at Lauren's Celebration of Life service. And I had someone come up to me who hadn't been here in a while. And she's Jewish. And she said the reason that I just couldn't come was because I just kept hearing stories about Jesus. And I'm like, okay, I get that. And, we have people from many different backgrounds come to Unity of Gaithersburg, and it seems that some people come and want Jesus, and many come and don't. So Unity is based on the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual teachers. We are not limited to Christian teachings. People in Unity often refer to Jesus as our elder brother or teacher and way shower to show us who we can be, but he's not the only one, right? Right? Okay. And the reason we talk about Jesus at all is for us to know more fully what we are. That's the reason. The Fillmores, our co-founders, had an emphasis on Jesus in the Bible as the times they were living were much more traditional. So Charles Fillmore explored Eastern philosophy, which is very much a part of Unity in its practices. Charles Fillmore was obsessed with Jesus' ability to resurrect, folks. He was obsessed with it. And he was convinced that he could resurrect his body as well. And most of us who attend Unity don't have that obsession, at least last time I checked. So there are many spiritual masters that have influenced Unity and who influence the spiritual conversation we have today. Therefore, we do not have a weekly emphasis on Jesus. However, I resonate with Jesus' stories often because I just think we can see ourselves in them. That's the whole point, right? He was pretty wise. So I always have a mixed response when I do share those stories. And again, some loving them, some not so much. So I feel like I need to stop there. But I thank you so much for your questions. I am always available for your questions. I love you. I am grateful to be here as your spiritual leader. We're on this journey together. Namaste, amen. Okay. Let's affirm together. Wherever I am on my spiritual journey, I declare an intention to deepen and expand my understanding of my true nature. I am consciously evolving. Yes, you are. And so it is.